So they go along files and ranks. Okay, which are the files and which are the ranks?
Files are up and down, ranks are side to side.
Right. So the horizontal lines are the ranks and the vertical lines are the files. Okay. Your files have alphabets from A to H and your ranks have numbers from 1 to 8. Okay. This is important to know because that's how you name the square. Okay. Do you know how to name a square?
Yeah.
Okay. So can you tell me the name of this square?
F5.
Correct. So first comes your file name and then comes your rank name. Okay, if you ever get confused, just remember the alphabetical order of the alphabets. Your F comes first and R comes second when you're reading your alphabets, right? So that's how you name the square as well. Okay. All right. Rook moves along the files and ranks. What is the short form for rook?
R.
Okay. And how many points is the rook?
5.
Yeah. All right. Great. What about the knight?
The knight's
Short form.
N.
Okay. And points?
3.
All right. And okay, let's take a piece here. Can you tell me which squares can the knight go on from here?
It moves in an L shape, so that white one,
The squares.
huh?
Name the squares where the knight can go.
Oh, okay. D5, F5, okay, and then C4, G4, C2, and G2,
Anyone?
and F1 and D1.
So you know how the knight moves. It's called 2.5 squares. Okay. Now the logic for it is that when you're moving, so the first two squares that you count should be along the file or the rank. Okay. Now if I keep counting them this way, I will be having the third square right over here. Correct? But I'm not going to move to the third square. From the second square, either I'll go towards my right or I'll go towards my left. Okay? So since it's not the third square which we think, it's going to be called as a half square. Okay? So usually they mention that the knight moves 2.5 squares. It doesn't literally mean a half square, but if you're moving in the forward direction like this and you don't reach your third square, then this is called your half square. Okay, so instead of calling it moving in a L direction, you say it moves 2.5 squares. Okay, so the first two squares are always counted along the file or the rank and not along the diagonal. Okay, so you have three directions on your board. It is file, ranks, and diagonals. Okay, diagonal is the slant line. Did you understand? Any doubts? Okay. What about the bishop? Short form?
B.
Okay. And points? Points.
Then 3.
And what about the knight?
The knight is 3.
Correct. If you get confused, the knight looks like the top part of a 3. Okay. So you can remember it this way, or you can like even remember the 3 like this. Okay. That's one way to remember it. And for your this thing, bishop also, it has a so it looks like a 3. So these two pieces are 3 points. Okay. This is your 5 points. How many points? Okay. How does the bishop move?
The bishop moves diagonally.
Okay, so do you notice one bishop is on a white square and the other bishop is on a black square? Okay, it's there for both the players, it's the same way. So this bishop will always keep moving along a white diagonal. Even if it changes position, like if it comes to this square, from here he'll again be moving along the white diagonal. Okay, so this bishop will never land on a black square. And on the other hand, this bishop will keep moving on a black diagonal from wherever you change the position also. So this will never move onto a white square. Okay, this holds true for both the players. So one bishop will only move along the white squares and the other will only move along black squares, but diagonally. Okay, and okay, coming to the queen. What's the short form for the queen?
Q.
Okay, and the number of points?
7.
No, 9. There is no 7. So there is 3, 3, 5, 7. Oh, sorry, 9, not 7. And you have 1 also. Which piece has 1 point?
The pawns.
Correct. Okay. How does the queen move?
It moves in all of the directions.
Yeah, we don't say all because it doesn't move like the knight. Okay, so it goes along the files, it goes along the ranks, and it goes along the diagonals. Now, when it's moving along one diagonal, notice that one diagonal always has one color of squares. Okay, but like if you stop the queen somewhere here and then move along along the rank, and from here you move along the diagonal, so again the color will change. Okay, but that does not mean that within the same diagonal the color never changes. All your diagonals are always of the same color square. See. So if you're on a black diagonal, all the squares will be black. If you're on a white diagonal, all the squares will be white. Okay. So except for the knight, except for how the knight moves, the queen can move like the bishop and the rook. Okay. And there is no limit on the number of squares. So it can move even 5 squares at a time or 2 squares or depending on how the pieces is placed. Okay. What about the king? What's the short form for the king?
Okay.
And number of points?
Infinity.
No, it's not called infinity. It's called the most valuable piece. So you don't mention infinity because actually it's not. It's like the most valuable. Without the king, you can't have the game of chess. Okay, so there's no king, there is no game of chess. So at all point in time, you should have the king on the board. Okay, and how does the king move?
Um, Same like the queen, except it can only move one at a time.
Correct. Right. So it can move along the 5 ranks and diagonals, but only one square at a time. Okay. Okay. What do you know about the pawns?
The pawns, they can only move forward and they kill like crosswise.
All right. So number of points? 1. And what's the short form for the pawn?
P. No, there isn't.
If you say P, there are 8 pieces with the name P, right? So that's getting confusing. So for the pawn, the name of the square is the short form for the particular pawn, which means the short form for this pawn is A2. Okay. For this one is F2. Okay. So for the pawn, there is no particular alphabet because there are 8 pawns and you cannot have them with the same name. All right. Also, from the original position, it can either move one square or it can move 2 squares. Okay, each pawn. So each pawn, if you have to decide if they want to move it 1 square or 2 squares, and after that, it can only keep moving 1 square at a time. Okay, and in chess, you don't say kills, you say capture, and it captures along the diagonal. Okay, so there is no word like kill in chess, it's called capture.